Nostalgia. What a fun word. It makes me think of popping bubble wrap with my hands or spinning a bucket full of water over your head in a circle. Or, maybe your childhood sucked and you get triggered by Google security questions. No, I don't know the street name I grew up on, and I don't know my pet's first name. Sorry, childhood sucked. Either way, we're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly, about nostalgia on this episode of The Brighter Side. I'm Amber Nelson, and joining me is Ashley Book-Roberts.
Hey, y'all. So happy to be here talking about nostalgia. And to my right is the wonderful...
I'm Julie Rosing. I'm going to be leading the episode today. I'm really excited. Yes, we are talking about nostalgia. Where does it come from? When did society start being nostalgic? What are we personally nostalgic for? And what are the dangers of nostalgia?
Yeah, because if you're nostalgic at the past, what if you're in the past?
What if you're stuck in the past?
Yeah, you're building the pyramids. You're like, what are we nostalgic about? Like, being,
That's right, Amber. You said it, Amber.
Yes. So this episode will also bring you...
Sorry.
This episode, we are also going to bring you an interview with Amber and Eddie with Joel Walkowski about his new book, Honolulu Blues, that discusses a period of nostalgia in his life. So we have a jam-packed episode. Final piece of housekeeping before we get started. If you are listening to this podcast, you can also watch this podcast. Go over to YouTube at The Brighter Side LPN. Like and subscribe to our channel.
Please.
Yes, we have some fun stuff cooking up.
We need you over there.
Yes, we need you, baby. And then today, after recording, we're going to do 10 bonus minutes talking about our little dookies of the week. Eddie's going to join us, and that will be on YouTube, a YouTube exclusive. So go over to YouTube and check that out at the end of this episode. Okay, so talking about nostalgia.
Woo!
Yay! Very trendy word, right? So companies use it to sell us retro cassette players, but its origins had a very different meaning, which I found very fascinating as I was diving into it. I pitched this episode idea and talking to you guys, Ashley just brought up her own feelings of nostalgia that I was like, oh, this is like deeper than, this is deeper than like pop sockets and, McDonald's toys.
Yeah, well, I'm like suspicious of nostalgia. Like,
yeah,
really?
I'm suspicious of it. I enjoy like personal nostalgia, like my own feelings. At times I enjoy, but I'm very suspicious of collective nostalgia because I feel like society gets things wrong a lot.
Oh, like the Mandela effect?
More like the Lost Cause, like romanticizing the past, like how like the Lost Cause like looks back at the pre-Civil War and they go, oh, the Confederates were noble men and women and no. So it's just more of like romanticizing the past. Yeah. But for my own personal nostalgia, I do dabble. Sure. Mm-hmm. I love to dabble in that feeling.
I feel like nostalgia is more personal. And if it's less, it's not the word nostalgia because we weren't allowed around during pre-Civil War unless we're all vampires, let me know. So that would be something else.
You mean this is the moment when I'm like,
right. It's like, holy shit.
No, nostalgia is a word we can use now. I'm just saying the lost cause is a specific term, but that is like that is a nostalgic take on that. It's like a romanticization.
Oh,
of
so
that
I could
period.
be nostalgic about the Egyptian pyramids, even though I wasn't around, or was I?
No, I don't think you can.
Okay, let me give a little history lesson on the word nostalgia and where the concept idea comes from. Okay, the word nostalgia was coined by Johannes Hofer, a Swiss medical student, in 1688.
Oh.
Okay, he wrote his dissertation on the psychological burden of folks living far from home, mainly soldiers. He deemed the longing that they experienced to be a dangerous psychiatric illness that often resulted in folks dying. So people would be so longing so much for home that they would stop eating, their immune system would go down, disease was like everywhere back then, and then they would die.
So it was a bad thing.
For sure. The beginnings of nostalgia was like a medical illness that doctors would diagnose.
Wow. And it's just like a longing to the point of death, of like neglect to death.
So the thing that is, it does feel very ahead of its time, right? So this was like 1688. The ideas of depression and like melancholia, they don't really show up until the 19th century. So this does feel like a very early studying of like the human psyche. But the thing that was, so reading his dissertation, his idea was that you would be so far from home And this is a direct quote, the continuous vibration of animal spirits through the fibers of the middle brain in which impressed traces of ideas of the fatherland still cling. Insane concept to wrap your mind around. But when I was reading an interpretation of his dissertation, basically he thought you'd be so far from home, your internal vital spirits would be sucked into your brain, and then the pressure of that would be so great on the areas in your brain that were that had memories of your home life that you would then like cause the imagination of like longing for home. But then because the spirits were sucked out of your body would become weak and frail. So like very like advanced to like be thinking about the human psyche, but also like, what are we talking about, bro?
Yeah, spirits in the body. And they're animal spirits?
Yeah, for some reason you just see, animal spirits.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's almost giving like sort of leeches sort of situation.
Yeah, like how like medicine back in the day was very like, I mean, they had very limited ways to test their theories.
But it sounds like he's saying, like this, you have this thing going on in your brain and then you become weak and frail. And we now know that as just like, I'm assuming self-neglect. Like you become,
1,000%.
And so then that makes me think he's talking about depression, which is
that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
is
okay,
like, no, back in the day, this was like way, this was like 200 years before the concept of depression really was a thing, you know? So this was like a very early diagnosis of depression. They just didn't understand the human psyche, you know?
Yeah.
So he's also studying Swiss mercenary soldiers who are being taken from their homes. Wow. They're in like war trauma, you know, they're experiencing a million other things that are going to make them sad and depressed.
Yeah.
One fact I read is that these specific Swiss mercenaries, while they were away from home, they were told they were not allowed to sing or play any of the music from their homeland. So like, and that was like a very important part of their life at the time, you know, was like music of home. So you have these people who are like pulled away from their lives.
Yeah.
He was like, they're animal spirits.
That sounds heartbreaking.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I also personally, another reason I'm suspicious of nostalgia within myself is that it is usually a sign. It's like sort of a canary in a coal mine for my own depression. Like when I start finding myself being very nostalgic a lot and like ruminating on nostalgia, then I'm like, maybe I need to see my therapist.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
I mean, there was another physician. It's just like the more I read about it, I just found it so fascinating as a study of like medicine and the evolution of a psychological idea, right? So there was another physician who was like, no, it's not spirits. It's actually altitude. So like the soldiers are leaving and going to a different altitude and it's affecting their bodies. And then when they come home, they return to this altitude and they're okay.
Oh.
Which is
altitude
like,
sickness is real.
I mean, okay, like we do eventually get to altitude sickness in medicine, but like.
And I guess no one had said like, maybe they miss home.
Yeah.
That hadn't come up yet?
Well,
that idea?
When Hoffer, when he talks about like patients that he just says, they just say over and over again, I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home. And when they finally come home, they get better. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like homesickness. It was, you know, this idea of nostalgia, which the word is Greek, nostos, which literally translates to homecoming, and algos, which translates to pain or grief. Now, nostos in Greek it refers to a hero's epic return home, mainly via a body of water, which
we know the Odyssey.
Yes, exactly. But you know,
Ulysses.
He's like using these words of like, no, it's a like pain for homecoming, for like coming home.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But and then so when you have like a nostalgic ache, like I do for a time period, it's coming home to a time period or coming home to a state of mind. Because I find myself nostalgic for states of mind a lot of time.
Oh,
And-
like wow.
Interesting.
Like, I just remember being a kid and being in a field and feeling like the wind on my face and looking out at a horse eating grass and feeling like very in the moment and very present and alive that I don't necessarily feel now.
Yeah, because now we're like, what are the YouTube numbers?
Yeah.
Right.
What's the
Now, like, push the
algorithm?
YouTube.
Yeah. Now I'm like,
Right.
let's see what's
Right.
going on Reddit.
Right,
Let me
right.
check the nostalgia subreddit real quick.
Yeah.
God, I have these like fantasies where I'm just like doing cartwheels in a field.
Yeah.
And I think that's just nostalgic for a time of just being outside.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So, okay. In 1833, this idea of nostalgia changes. Okay, so in medical journals, you see nostalgia being referred to not just as like people wanting to go home and people wanting to return to friends and family, but they want to return to scenes of their youth. So the original idea, 1688, now we're in 1833, and it's this idea of like wanting to return home to like experiences of the past.
A time period,
Yeah.
a state of mind.
Well, now things have gotten so fast and sped up. I was writing down things I'm nostalgic for, things like buying CDs out of the mail.
Yeah.
It just sounds like I lived in the Revolutionary War. Like when I describe these things of like, oh, like you said, Delia's. Like you
Yeah.
get clothes and stuff through the mail. It's
Right.
just
Loved
like,
a catalog.
What? A catalog?
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. Like as this idea of nostalgia spreads, quick anecdote, and then we're going to jump back to like what you were saying. But it spreads to America, right? And you see citations of nostalgia as reasons for sending soldiers home from the American Civil War. So doctors were like, look, like you're nostalgic. You got to get out of here.
Wow.
And they wanted to diagnose it early before that person became a bigger problem. They were like, look,
gosh.
you're
It might spread.
obviously nostalgic. You got to get out of here before we all have to take care of you.
They gotta start
Man.
talking to other people. And
Yeah, and
spreads
it was like a
disease.
super insult. It was like a big insult to be
Wow.
diagnosed with nostalgia.
I wish I could get out of work. I know. I miss malls. Let me go
Right.
home.
Right. We used to just
right,
walk
right.
around and there was
Yeah.
like a hierarchy of who would work there.
Yeah.
Like Clinique was at the top.
Yeah, that's
Ah,
me. I was
yes.
a makeup gal.
Okay,
But
I worked at Journeys, and we
Yeah.
had this issue with the women at Clinique because they were right across from us, and they would constantly like yell at us. Well, the men that I worked with, because they were like, "We're not a fishbowl. Stop staring at us." And it was like, "We have nothing else to look at. You're literally just across the way from us."
Sounds like you should have stopped looking at them. Sounds like they were telling you what they wanted. But I'm just saying, like, this idea, like, of being able to get out of an obligation because you're nostalgic. We don't have that luxury today.
Because like the fact that it started as like a true like psychiatric
Yeah,
illness,
that's
something
so
that people
interesting.
like deeply felt, you know? So-
Meanwhile, they have no germ theory.
No,
You know,
no,
it's like
no.
they're not
Zero
washing their
germ.
hands.
Exactly. That's why I was like, yeah, of course these people aren't feeding themselves.
Yeah.
And then they get into like what, malaria, dysentery, like tuberculosis,
Yeah.
like disease was everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're
like,
just like, just take
remember?
me home.
Yeah. Remember when my leg wasn't rotting off? Like,
Yeah.
he's crazy in the head. Get him out of here.
Right. Okay, so once we get into the 1900s, we start to see nostalgia discussed in art, like specifically poetry. And as this continues and it appears more and more in literature, it becomes this like romanticism and less a medical term. Psychoanalysts at the time, they began to have like little tolerance for people that come in as like nostalgic patients. They're like, look, you're not dealing with real life. You need to snap out of this and
Right.
get out there. You
We're
know?
past that.
Right. They've got schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Schizophrenia is coming up in the world, and they're like, you got to just deal with it, babe.
Yeah. Women who have never had an orgasm and they're just like, she's crazy. Go jack her off in the corner.
Right.
I mean, did they talk about which poets are bringing it up? Because you mentioned, I personally love the Romantics. So I love like Wordsworth and Coleridge. Those are my dudes. And so I'm wondering if that's discussed at all, like how nostalgia was used in poetry.
No, they gave a few examples of nostalgia, but they were like really long, and it was like it was like a time where I was in a field, like take
Yeah.
me back to my home
Yeah.
space, you know? Like I think people were really starting to have a word for this feeling of homesickness.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So along the same lines as like with this, you know, these psychoanalysts are like telling these nostalgic people to get the fuck out of here. It also becomes kind of like a classist thing where they start to really only look at lower social classes as being prone to nostalgia.
Wow.
Well, yeah, because then they're just working real hard, like right off the bat.
Yeah, of
Right?
course they want to go back to a
Similar
similar
time.
time.
Because, you know, they talk about like people that were studied were soldiers, domestic service workers. So you're talking about the person who is like the butler for
my
these very
gosh.
wealthy people. It's like, yeah, of course they're nostalgic for home. They want to get the fuck out of here.
I never thought about nostalgia as being like a poverty issue.
I mean, that could work because, like, you know, when I remember being very poor in New York and people were like, what's your 5-year plan? And I'm like, to be alive tomorrow? Like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
So, like, looking at the past and even looking at the future in that sense, could be, well, looking at the future and having a clear path is very wealthy, and looking at the past and having a clear path and nostalgia on that, I guess could be a poor thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, what is Kim Kardashian nostalgic for?
Yeah, and I was saying, like,
I mean, who knows? Maybe she
her old
romanticizes
nose.
a time when like she could walk around and not be famous.
That's true.
When we were talking in the chat, I was saying that like we tend to be one of the things about being nostalgic and romanticizing the past is it doesn't have sort of the threat of the unknown, which is what the future holds. So yeah, if you are wealthy, you feel more equipped to handle the unknown. You go throw it at me. I can handle it. I've got the funds. But if you're impoverished, you're living in poverty, you feel like I can't handle one more crisis event because I literally don't have the financial support to get through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
It all comes back to money, doesn't it, gals?
I never
It's
put
fascinating.
this together.
So the biggest shift in nostalgia comes in 1979. An American sociologist, Fred Davis, he writes a book called Yearning for Yesterday, A Sociology of Nostalgia. And the biggest thing here is that I found this book absolutely, like, I want to go read it because the clips, the excerpts I read from it, I just found so exciting. Also in like a window to a different time. So the book is important because it completely removes nostalgia as a mental illness and reframes it as a vital part of human adaptive psychology. So it's no longer like, wow, you're experiencing nostalgia, this is a bad thing. It's more like, yeah, of course, like you're a human, you have nostalgia.
Right. You're processing things.
Yeah.
You're reflecting. You're growing. It's part of a self-awareness.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he names like 4 major things. He says, nostalgia connects our past and present selves, which can give us a sense of self during unpredictable times, which is things that you've mentioned. Nostalgia is deeply social. It gives us shared cultural touchstones, fashion, music, holidays, and like it reinforces bonds of our communities. Also, nostalgia, this one was like a big red flag for me. Nostalgia relies on selective memory. But his interpretation of that was it edits out the negative, and by only holding on to the positive, it provides a safe psychological haven from the unpredictable present.
Right.
Which is like, you got to be able to know what's going on right now.
Right. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
interesting. I can be nostalgic for high school, but then I forget that when I was in high school, I would be like, oh, what that guy said, I don't really like that. I didn't have the words to put it together at the time, but I was like, I think they're being mean. I think they're being weird. Like the guy that sold me oregano and then said it was weed. And then I called him up and I was like, I'm not high. And then he laughed at me. And then he told the school the next day that I said I was high. Like he just lied. Like I don't remember that as much as I remember just like,
Right.
Yeah.
it's wear your pants backwards day.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like you remember that in the 90s, people could buy houses, but you don't remember also that like people who were diagnosed with AIDS were basically given like a death sentence. At the same
1,000%.
time. Like,
1,000%.
we
Yeah.
don't have that collective memory of that. Yeah.
The fourth thing he mentions is like being able to look back can help us find comfort or emotional support to navigate the present. But I think that's like such a tricky thing, right? You can look back, but you have to be able to look back with like a full spectrum of like what you're looking back on. Does that make sense? Like,
sort of. Can you explain it a little bit more? I
Like-
didn't get it. I was
like-
going in for a sip of my water, and,
Your brain was like,
my brain
yum.
was like, I need that water.
Like specifically, I'll touch on this when we get into kind of more of like the dangers of nostalgia, which is kind of like looking back on the past with rose-colored glasses. Like you're looking back and like you said, like you're just holding on to like positive experiences, but like learning from, some guy selling you oregano is like, no, yeah, some asshole sold me oregano. Like I'm going to make sure I'm going to like smell it and test it, whatever, in the future.
Right.
But so this idea that he says is like, no, it's great to look back to comfort you on like your current state of mind. I just think it's like tricky.
Okay, and then here's my question for you, Julie, expert of nostalgia. What about when I just remember a humiliating event or one thing that just sticks out in my mind that like it feels like awful that I did? Why can't I look back on it and just think he was a guy who liked me instead of me making an ass of myself?
I mean, I think we're getting into a different concept.
We are, yeah.
Like, I think that's regret. I think that's shame.
Also.
Shame.
Yeah.
And like
I-
feeling like
yeah.
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another thing. You sent me a thing the other day that was like, you're not in trouble.
Yeah.
It's okay. And I was like, that really spoke to me.
Yeah.
Because I know we sometimes feel like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. I did it all wrong. Everybody hates me.
Yeah.
And that's, again, taking the past and not through rose-colored glasses, maybe shed-colored glasses, where it's like they might not even think about it.
Right.
They might not even, they're just like, Ashley, oh yeah, cool girl.
Yeah. Where I'm like,
for
oh,
sure.
fuck, I did it all wrong. Yeah. Okay.
His book also claims that people can discern between nostalgia and homesickness. So they're completely they're totally different concepts. So like a longing for home is very different than like a longing for a past time when like you had comfort or joy or whatever.
What's it called when you never had a home?
Interesting.
Well, when you never had
woman
a
without a
home, or
home.
when you never had like long chunks of time in places.
The longest I've lived in a place was New York. But I don't consider that my home. Like growing up, it was like boop, 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 all over the place. So I just never really had. So is it like, can you be homesick if you've never had a home?
Have you lived in LA longer than this? First off, we will answer that question.
Yes.
But second off, have you lived in LA now longer than you lived in New York?
No, but I've lived in the house I'm living in now is the longest I've lived in any place in my entire life.
Same
Wow.
girl.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. And then your question was,
Can you be homesick if you've never had a home?
Yeah, I think so, right? Because you can be
think so.
homesick for a feeling. Like, but this is interesting, like this homesick feeling and this nostalgia, separating them. I don't know if I separate them in my mind.
Yeah.
Do you
It's
feel a
such
difference, Julie Rosen?
I think it's like, God, when you start talking about like our brains and psychology, it's like, it's such a, I don't know, like a mishmash of ideas, and everybody has a different, like, well, my research supports this, you know, like he just came along and was like, no, they're different things. But I think like when you're homesick, you experience nostalgia, or, you know, you have like a longing for a time when you were home, or like in a more like comfortable, or a period of time that you romanticize in your brain.
I think you can be homesick and nostalgic, and you can also be nostalgic without being homesick. You know what I mean? Like you can be nostalgic for like New York, but that's not my home.
Yeah. Like the Venn diagram is kind of more like this.
I see.
Yeah.
Where they kind of overlap. Like you can be both, but you can also be just nostalgic, and you can also be just homesick.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
But, you know, so then we get into the 21st century, and this is really the idea of nostalgia that we think about. You know, like this is when it's predominantly a positive, valuable psychological resource about like wistful feelings about one's childhood with pop culture associations. And it really becomes a tool for marketing, politicians, you know, like it becomes something where like we get sold things as like quote unquote nostalgia themed.
Oh, like that concert that was like $200 when we were young.
Oh yeah, right. Was
Yeah.
like all of the old like punk bands.
Yeah. I also just saw this like new Coca-Cola ad that came out like last week, and I was just like, oh my God, I love this ad. And I was like, why do I love this ad so much? And I realized they're using the Marlboro font from the 90s. Remember that like very specific ad font?
yeah.
They're using it for Coca-Cola, and it really appealed to me. It worked. It made me go buy a Coke. So yeah, I fell for it.
Yeah, I mean, we have a resurgence of like mid-century design, right?
I love mid-century modern.
Of course, it just feels like, I don't know, it scratches that nostalgia of like some random time that's romanticized in our brains somehow.
Yeah, and you mentioned pop culture, and like when you asked Amber and I like what are we nostalgic for, most of the things I thought of were tied to pop culture. Yeah.
Interesting.
Now, thinking of nostalgia as specifically a time in your life that you feel nostalgia for, like what is that time? What is that time for you?
So
we had some photos.
some Saudi Arabia. So you see, and I'll put this on Instagram. So that's the compound right there with me on the bicycle. That's my class right up there. I think it was the feeling of like my parents had money. Basically, that's
Yeah.
it. It was like a little more safety. I remember walking into a rug shop and I could just pick out whatever rug I wanted, and it was a pink rug. And then when we moved to America, like we lost all of our money immediately. So yeah, it was just also like I don't know, like running in the desert, just like pure kind of freedom.
Yeah.
I'm nostalgic for that. Even though I was a little girl and I didn't start my period yet, so Sharia law did not affect me. So I think I'm nostalgic for playing in a place where you shouldn't be playing. Does it make sense? But
Yeah.
you're allowed to for now. And then in America, I'm nostalgic about we moved immediately to the woods. So it's like I would pick off these giant what do you call them, elephant ear leaves and like wear them as umbrellas. Or my brothers would take a vine and cut it, and then I could like swing across a little bitty river, swimming in a giant lake, just like running and playing in the woods. Just that's all my childhood was just kind of being completely alone in the elements.
Yeah,
I don't mean to
but
sound
that's
crazy.
very freeing.
No,
Yeah,
It was
for
just
sure.
very freeing. And it's
Yeah.
like what I'm nostalgic for is just being very free. If like I want to go over here, I want to go pick blackberries. I want to go here, I want to go run through the sand dunes.
Yeah,
And you can go do it.
Yeah.
So what are you guys nostalgic for?
I mean, just talking about nature, for me, it's like I put a picture of a horse in a field because I had this summer camp job where I would go in the morning, I would go get all the horses out of the field and lead them back and saddle them up for the camp kids.
When you think about this memory, do you
Yeah.
have like a sense memory about it?
Absolutely. The smell,
Yeah.
the feel, the grass, because it was so early, so you could still smell the dew, and it was so silent and peaceful, but you could hear like, the horses kind of like doing that thing, and then I would go up and I can feel their manes, all of it. And I have a lot of memories of my grandfather also trained horses, so just being out in a field with a horse, also just being alone in nature. Tons of memories of being alone in nature. And what feels very special to me about that is that I never felt alone, because I always felt a presence with me. And I don't know I don't know if that's just being a dumb kid or if it's like the eye of the forest watching over me. But I just remember being in the woods a lot as a kid and feeling like someone else was there with me in a very like positive, loving, safe way. Yeah. I also have pictures here of roller skating rinks. I think my time period is very like mid 90s, like a very specific time where I was getting a lot of freedom. I was also enjoying things like birthday parties at skating rinks. And then of course I have pictures of the mall, specifically a mall fountain.
I can't. That is like I feel like this when you sent this to me, I was like, I've been to that place.
Yeah, it looks like it, right? Like I remember just being fascinated by fountains as a kid, and like definitely a sense memory. I can smell that water, that chlorinated indoor water. I can hear it. I can hear the chatter of like the full mall behind me. And I just, my mom and we would just kind of go to the mall as a thing to do on like a Friday night, just like walk around the mall and just like take in all the smells. And oh, baby, when I'm talking about it right now, it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels great.
That's what this evolution of nostalgia has been, which I think removing homesickness from it has really deduced it down to really what it is, which is like a positive emotion evoked by remembering a romanticized time in your life.
Yeah.
I feel like I've said that a million times. But so up in mine, if you go up a little bit, Adam, when I was thinking, I was like, well, what is a time that I like feel like I really romanticize? And it's like this, like these two photos, right? Like I grew up with tons of aunts and uncles, a bunch of cousins, and we would have these birthday parties at my house. And it was just like I feel like I think what it is for me is like a yearning for like that community again, like my grandfather was such a patriarch of our family, and it was like everybody, if he was going to be there, everybody wanted to be there. He knew everybody. He knew how to make everybody feel welcome and comfortable. And at the end of the night, I mean, this is why I think I can drink coffee and still fall asleep. At the end of the night, there would be pots of coffee, just like everybody sitting around on like a summer evening, golden hour, everyone's drinking coffee. We're like out of the pool, like tucked up in towels, sitting on our parents' laps, like talking, like listening to the adults talk, like it was an easier time, like we were just kids. We got to go and play, not know what the adults were fighting about or even having conversations about, like it is such a romanticized time in my life, like being so close with my cousins. Like now, we're all over the place. Everybody has their own families. Like, when we do connect, it is like there is a closeness that is still there. But to be like every weekend seeing these people was a really special time for me. So like it's like reminding myself to look back and not be sad that I don't have that now, but to be like, I have a new community of people, you know, like when we had that 4th of July party, it very much had that same vibe of like, yeah, there's a bunch of people here, conversations happening in different, you know, areas of the yard. Like there is a different community here and it's a good thing.
Man, that was so beautiful. And like I was nostalgic for your memory.
Yeah.
It's not even something I've experienced, but it just sounded so wonderful. And it sort of reminded me of this feeling that I had, you know, so what I grew up with either just like living with one parent. So it was either just I was living with my mom or I was just living with my dad. But in the holidays, like everyone would descend on a grandparent's house. And I remember waking up as a kid in the morning and hearing a bunch of voices, adults' voices in the other room talking, and I could smell the coffee, and there's just like such a sense of warm safety there. And I felt that when you were describing that memory.
There is one researcher who talks about vicarious nostalgia and how you are able, which can be, I will talk about this in like the dangers, but like it can be a tricky thing because you didn't experience it yourself. I'm not saying like that's what's happening right now, but like it is easy to like kind of take on someone's memories for your own.
Totally.
And that's when like, you know, if they're bad memories,
Right.
it can lead to bad things.
Stalking, you know, or just kind of like living vicariously through somebody. Just like, Julie, I like that pool story. Now I'm going to go find your
Let
whole
me find
family.
you back home.
I like when you asked Amber, like, what are you nostalgic for? Like, what do you think the root thing is? And like, I was thinking about that with mine. I think I'm nostalgic for a sense of time, a sense in time when the world felt very open and everything felt possible. And like, it felt like magical things were happening around me all the time that now I think with my dumb adult brain, I would sort of label as mundane, you know, those smells in the mall, those sounds in the mall. At the time when I'm a kid in that time period, they feel magical and special. But now I just kind of filter them out as background noise.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I'm nostalgic for,
Yeah.
a sense of possibility.
My pop culture references are the going to the Whippy Dip and getting
what's that?
Getting like
What's a Whippy Dip?
A Whippy Dip is just like a walk up ice cream place where they had
Like a Dairy Queen?
Yeah, like kind of like a Dairy Queen, but there's no place to sit down inside. You just walk up, and generally it's like frozen yogurt or you could get a malt or a milkshake. But we always got the swirl with the eyes on it.
Wow, it came with that candy eyes.
Yeah, it came with candy eyes.
Wow.
And those wafers were the ears, and then sometimes you could get sprinkles on top as hair.
You guys were doing crazy food stuff in Cincinnati.
1,000%.
Going through a drive-through to get a bowl of spaghetti.
I know. Right. But then also that's an image from Now and Then.
Yeah, that
Movie
was a
Now and
fun
Then.
movie.
But also, you talking about malls made me remember Wendy's sunrooms.
Oh my gosh, I loved a sunroom.
God, I lived in a sunroom.
Oh
it
my
was
God,
great.
Wendy's sunrooms.
Yeah,
I forgot.
Wendy's sunrooms.
Everything's just so prison-like now.
I know.
They used to have sunrooms.
They had sunrooms.
Oh, and like
I love
Pizza
it.
Hut had those like chandeliers.
Yeah.
When Pizza Hut had chandeliers, now it's just like, here's your pizza, you piece of shit. Get out of here.
Yeah, and McDonald's you walked into and it was like it was like Disney World
Yeah.
with their
With
toy.
the
With the
ball
new
pit.
toy
Ball pit,
and
yeah.
the ball pit.
Did
And
they
you weren't
ever
even
even-
thinking about the gross stuff in the ball pit.
No, did they even find those needles in the ball pit, or were they lying to us?
They were lying, babe.
Really? Were they lying to us?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Feels like a lie. Feels like a needle in a candy sort of thing.
Well, what do
There
you
was
think-
this one part of Yearning for Yesterday that at the very beginning of the book. So this was the guy who changed this idea of nostalgia as a mental illness, pretty much. And at the very beginning of his book, he really wants to reiterate. He is not. This was in 1979, right? He is not talking about these pop culture references of nostalgia. He is going to, in this book, just be analyzing nostalgia as an idea. And to me, that was so fascinating because he starts listing, like he basically says, when I was talking to people about writing this book, they just started listing things in our society that they are nostalgic for.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to analyze why we're nostalgic for them. And that's not what he's doing. But when he was talking about it, he was like, I would almost invariably be asked to give reasons for the resurgence of interest in the romantic comedy movies of the 30s, the rediscovered attachment to swing bands, and ocean cruises, which obviously harks back to the period immediately before the Second World War. Which to me was like, we're talking about like being nostalgic for like roller rinks,
Yeah.
you know? And they're like, why do you think we care about swing bands again?
Yeah.
You
We're
know?
like we miss fast food places when they were cool.
Right. What do you
Yeah.
think they would be nostalgic about now? Like things currently happen.
Yeah.
If somebody was like 9 years old right now in 2026, would they be nostalgic for like Roblox?
I gotta
Roblox?
say, there maybe. I mean, I've had teens be nostalgic, tell me they were nostalgic for Tumblr. And that was something that they like, that was like the first thing they
wow.
experienced, you know, when they were like 9 or 10, right? And now they're
Right.
like 17 and they're like, yeah, Tumblr. Remember Tumblr?
Oh my god.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see like what, I mean, I feel like I'm always looking at my nieces and nephews and being like, what's going on in that head of yours? You know?
Yeah, well, I think it's be more of like an online space because
Yeah.
everything in the physical world has been devoured by
Not LaBibis.
not. Right, are these coming back or are they out?
I think they're out, but someone's
Right.
going to be nostalgic for
They'll
them.
be nostalgic for Labubu's,
Yeah,
for sure.
bag charms will have a resurgence in 20 years from now.
Bag
Right?
charms.
Bag charms.
Maybe. All right. Okay. So we're going to jump now to an interview with Eddie and Amber and Joel Walkowski about Honolulu Blues, his book about a time in his life that he is nostalgic for.
All right. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. We are taking a little break from the ladies and we're coming into an interview here with Amber and I and the wonderful Joel Walkowski. You're a great comedian and author. You recently wrote a book called Honolulu Blues, How Loving a Losing Football Team Created a Winning Man. And you're joining us today. This book is available. You go out and get it. It is part of Simon & Schuster distributed it.
That's big.
That's some real shit, Joel.
Yeah.
That's a real shit. That's a real book.
What are you, Kafka?
Yeah, what is, you did the, you know,
What are
I
you,
said,
Tennessee Williams over here? What's going on?
I get in there, I'm watching CNN, and there's 2 commercials telling me how to print my own fucking book. And you didn't need that. You went out there, you wrote this, and then you got Simon & Schuster in there, and they took your book, and it's out in the world. And dude, fucking proud of you, man. This is really a true accomplishment.
Hell yeah. Who's hotter, Simon or Schuster?
Ooh, good question. Good
Oh,
first question.
I'm a Schuster man. Schuster's way better looking. A name like Schuster, you know they have to work a little harder to be attractive. You know, Simon,
Yeah.
he can rest on those laurels. And all this blowing smoke up my ass, to say nothing of the blackmail and subterfuge I needed to get this puppy onto the market.
Yes.
But let's go. Good to be with Ed and Amber. Like, man, I was in the comedy trenches with these guys, and I mean, to date, like, Amber's still my favorite comedian I've ever
Unbelievable.
seen. So I'm just honored to see Amber Nelson.
You got to see her new shit,
Joel.
dude. Her new shit's unbelievable. She's better than she's ever been.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
look at all these compliments galore. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Look, a million years ago, Amber joined Murder Fist, and we're like, oh, that's going to change the world. And I see your guys, I see the work, and like, it did change the world. So let me return the favor to these 2 fine folks.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And also, Schuster, great pick. Simon, we all know, a little too controlling. Simon says.
Yeah. I've been alone in a room with Simon, and it wasn't great. Okay.
Did he molest you?
And, I mean, look out for book 2.
That'll be a
I am-
penguin. Yeah.
I am coming to you guys live from a library, so apologies if I get shushed at any point.
Everyone knows the greatest interviews come from inside libraries.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're doing a reading in a library of your book. So your book's going to be at the library.
Yeah, my book's at the library, and like, look, I wrote the book by hand in my living room, and I thought I was going crazy. It was The Shining.
Yeah.
And, you know, you put it out into the world. It's very niche. It's very specific to me, but like the way people have responded to it is like better than I ever could have anticipated. So like, I'm getting letters from people who like don't really care about me or the subject. They're like, oh, the first chapter has me weeping. And it's just like, you know, if your dad is crazy enough, you can get a book out of it. I think that's the lesson here.
That's the brighter side.
So why is it called Honolulu Blues?
In Detroit, the football team color is Honolulu blue, regardless of what shade of blue it is. Like, this millionaire loved Hawaii, and he's like, it's written into team bylaws. Whatever color it is, you wear. It's called Honolulu blue, and like, I think Detroit, there's a resilience, there's an optimism. You don't have much going for you, so you got to believe, and like, that's very much in the spirit of who I am and what became this book.
Yeah, man. And now so this book, from what I understand, is basically you and your dad trying to figure out your relationship together, but using the Detroit Lions as the catalyst to become friends.
Yeah, but it's pretty dark. And I think that's why the brighter side was the right fit to promote it. So the Lions won their last championship in 1958. That's when my dad got molested. So I trace losing from the I mean, I don't know why the parade ended in a 6-year-old's pants either, but I'm not an urban planner. But I think you trace like the bad things that happen to a family, the bad things that happen to a city and a team, and like they're not that different. So like I think in the micro and the macro, you learn how to live against the backdrop of these big losses, and you find your way.
Yeah. And, Detroit's on an upswing. The Lions seem to be on an upswing. How's your dad?
Oh, he's dead.
Shit.
Not to spoil the ending, but like, I opened the book. It's like, yeah, he dies at the end. And like, I would just write these journals. I'd give them to my dad. He would edit them on his deathbed. And like, it became, I think, a beautiful story that but he was also like one of the great eccentrics of all time. Giving out switchblades. He spent every dollar he had on a gold-plated banjo. So,
oh my God,
he's the right kind of person to be immortalized as a character.
Wow. So you get the gold-plated banjos after, like now?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I am Rumpelstiltskin now. So I have 17 banjos that I have to figure out what to do with, and like they're just sitting around. Like, I don't have the motor control to play banjo, but I can hoard. I can definitely hold on to everything and not throw anything out.
Banjos are very impressive instruments. Started in Africa. You should watch Throw Down My Heart, the Bela Fleck documentary, all about the banjo. You'll have a great time with it.
Right. Now, Joel.
Papa, is that you?
Is that
you? Someone talking to me about banjo facts.
Oh, man. Now, Joel, you're looking really crisp. You're looking good. Your skin is smooth. Your mustache is looking nice. So you've like sobered up, right?
Yeah, I've been sober like 11 years off alcohol, 5 years off drugs. Like,
wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I was a real booze hound. And then like with the drugs, I was mixing speed and LSD. But like I found a therapy-based recovery program that just worked really well for me. It's called SMART, if anyone ever needs to check it out.
What's the difference between that and AA?
AA, the first line of the prayer, you admit you're powerless over X. And SMART is, hey, if you could change the way you think, maybe you can change the way you behave. So it's a lot of like self-inventory and even a couple tools borrowed from the artist's way. So it just really clicked for me.
Oh, so speed and LSD, is that like seeing colors like the rainbow everywhere, but it's just like on a rave? Like just crazy?
It's just faster. Yeah,
fast.
No, it's fast. You go through the Crayola box in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot of like really being into soil and then deciding to write a term paper about it, even though I wasn't in classes of any kind.
Yeah.
So, I spent a couple of years of my life thinking I was Ken Kesey, and, that's not what got me a book, as it turns out.
So
Right.
was your dad sober too, or did you learn some of your habits from him?
Yeah, I mean, I come from a long line of addicts. I think Mike Lawrence has the great joke like, oh, my family tree has a car wrapped around it. And that's always resonated with me. But he was sober, but he was also on the autism spectrum. So like, I think he was kind of a dry drunk. He was the only person who'd people like, yeah, he maybe shouldn't have quit drinking. So like when that happened, he just kind of retreated into restoring switchblades, doing leather work, and making banjo. And like you talk about Bela Fleck, like he intentionally moved to be near the banjo makers. So he lived in a little shack all by himself and just filled with banjos, which not a bad way to live.
No.
But not for me.
Yeah, certainly not. And so the end of your dad's life, you went and hung out with him for how long? And then you just started writing down your thoughts, and then it became this book? Like, that's so impressive to me. I just cried and smoked weed.
Yeah. Well, I was his caretaker for probably 9 months.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've helped someone die before, but
Yes.
it's a lot of waiting around, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to do something to keep myself sane. I needed just to be thinking about something else. So I would whenever I had downtime, I would just write in these little journals, and it eventually became this book.
That's beautiful, man. Great way to use your just grief.
Yeah, and thank God you were sober during that time, because you can imagine changing his bedpan and you're drunk and just spill pee everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, or think it's pea soup.
Yeah.
Split pea soup, please. Yeah. Man.
No, but it's weird. I got myself in order to help my dad die. And everything up to that point kind of makes sense looking backwards, where I became a better version of myself, and it allowed him to have a more beautiful death than he would have had otherwise.
Yeah, it sounds like he was very proud of you.
He was very proud of me. And because as a young man, he gave me Tom Wolfe and Hunter Thompson and Kerouac. He's oh, these are the good writers. So I think trying to put him into a book was the ultimate tribute I could have given him, and I gave it to him.
Didn't it feel good, man? It's that whole Coco thing that you die twice. You die when you die, and then you die again the last time anyone ever talks about you. And so you prolonged his life in a way, and I think that's a beautiful thing. That's not one of the main reasons I wanted to make the movie about my mom. Is this something to keep her around forever? And I think it's something that not everyone can give to their parents, and I applaud you for being able to do it.
Yeah, and I did think you were originally talking about the sign language gorilla, and I was where is this going?
Yeah, Coco got molested. I was please stop molesting me.
Yeah, for Robin Williams, he's slippery fingers. Yeah, man. So where do the Detroit Lions fit into all this? It sounds like it's got nothing to do with them.
Well, there's all of his autism special interests. There's only one I ever grabbed onto, the Detroit Lions. And I do think, Ed, there's a team that never won. Amber, maybe you find it out now. Mm-hmm. But I think a team that never loses is a lot like a special needs parent. You love them, but you learn soon enough that you're not going to have the relationship to your thing the way others have to theirs. So you view them in a way that makes them enough.
Yeah.
So the Lions and the broader story of the city of Detroit become a thread throughout that just kind of mirrors us. They're not the subject, but they are the lens which this relationship exists. So I place it in that context.
What's an example of a moment where they totally shit the bed, the Detroit Lions, and you looked over at your dad and you're like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. They missed that pass.
Okay, so as he was dying, they were good for the first time in my entire life.
They were going to win.
And we were going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And we were up big in the second half, and we blew it. And I'm crestfallen. I'm devastated. And my dad, who's never going to see this team win, he knows he's going to die. He's oh, that sucks. But we had a whole relationship around these guys for a year. Why would I change anything about it? What would one more Sunday change? So the wins or losses seem secondary to the role these things play in our relationship, in our broader lives, where this is what I choose to love. Why would I make that outcome dependent?
Yeah. I mean, my relationship with my father was, rocky, I'd say, it'd come and go, but the one constant we had was no matter what, we could talk about the Miami Dolphins.
I thought you meant the Rocky the movie.
Yeah, we ate raw eggs a lot.
Yeah. Us running through the streets of Philadelphia.
It's you and your dad with no legs.
Yeah. So, it really helped. because you want to talk to him. You're like, this is my father. I'm trying to like have a relationship with this man. And, you get caught in conversation. And I knew that no matter what, I could talk about the Miami Dolphins season and what's going on and stuff like that. And so it was like, it really, as much as I'm not a football fan now, that having that in those declining years of my father really helped us mend our relationship. And so I know exactly where you're coming from here, buddy.
Yeah, and we use these things that are easy to talk about all the things that are hard to talk about. And I think that's a very male trait. And I think it's very widespread. And like, yeah, it's the Detroit Lions in my case, but I think anyone can swap in their interest and it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So the book, it seems like it's crushing it. It's doing great. What have you heard back from people who've like read it and been like, oh, thank you so much, because it seems like you're really touching people's hearts here.
No, and like I was at the Detroit Book Fest on Sunday and people are like, oh, you told my story. I didn't know other people viewed this the way I do. And like addiction being a component, everyone wants to talk about their rock bottom with me. Everyone wants to talk about their weird dad. So like I am a lightning rod for the best types of conversations possible. And I really do appreciate it.
Get used to it, man. The amount of I'm just dead moms and dead dogs like every time I talk to anybody. And at first you're just like, oh no, this is this again. But now I feel like I'm like the one person these people get to talk to about these things with.
Yeah.
And it's really been kind of wonderful. It helped me immensely. What's got me into therapy was making that movie and knowing that I had to promote it. And so I started therapy as like preventative. Yeah. And now I feel like the whole process has just made me a better person.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I heard a quote recently. It said, don't tell people to be strong when they come to you to be weak.
Yeah.
So when they come to you and they're
that's
like,
beautiful. I love that.
My dog died, my mother died, my father died, this Detroit Lions, that's all we could talk about with my dad. Don't be like, just pucker up and be strong. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Just like really like open up and talk to them about like what was your rock bottom.
Yeah. I think I live in the camp of feel it.
Right. What was your rock bottom, Joel?
No, my rock bottom is, so I wanted to be a writer before I was a comedian, and I went all in on it, right? So I got one thing published, like the first thing I ever wrote, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a novelist. So I locked myself in a room, and I drank all the whiskey. I took all the speed. I smoked cigs, and I ended up like basically drinking myself to death. I needed 14 blood transfusions.
What?
Whoa!
And then I couldn't quit drinking for another 10 years. So that whole time I drank and like I knew like I was really playing with fire and I just couldn't stop it until, I found smart and I was like, oh, there's ways to deal with this.
Wow. 14 blood transfusions.
That's fucked up. Good job. Good rock bottom. Good rock bottom. That's
Yeah,
a good one.
Solid rock bottom.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got to have my addict bona fides if I'm like, yeah, I've been there. So, no, and like, instead of doing anything about being accountable, I moved to New York where no one knew me. And I did comedy in New York where you kind of had a green light to party harder than you
They gave us drink
would have,
tickets.
so
They paid us in drink tickets.
That's how we all met each other.
Yeah.
I bet none of us remember the time we met each other. It's fucking, which is fucked up. But it's what the business comedy, especially back then, we were told we had to be drunk. I thought I had to be hammered to do Murder Fist. And now when I go on stage, I'm sober. I won't smoke weed. It's like, oh no, you're funnier when you think about what you're doing. And it's not just a natural reflex where you like, it's like just because you can get through the whole thing with remembering your lines doesn't mean you should, it's like, and so it was a very important step in my life to realize that, performing sober is way more valuable than getting trashed and getting on stage.
Didn't Murder Fist do like a 6-hour show on mushrooms or something?
We did a 1-hour show on mushrooms and that was a lot of fun. Didn't miss a line. I can't wait to do it again.
Oops. Have you ever seen somebody go to like Smart and they just keep talking about like the drugs? They're like, you know what? That was pretty cool. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna get out of here. Sorry, I'm gonna go do drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Someone came in, they're like, you know what? I like to get messed up, so it's like I achieved something when I run errands. And that's how they have their like achievement. They're like, yeah, I go to the post office wasted and I feel great about myself. It's like, you might be the only person who's ever been happy at the post office. So go off, King.
Hell yeah.
Man, so you impress me on so many levels. I've been love watching you from a distance. We know each other, but we're not close friends or anything. But I've been following the shit out of everything you do. The Big Walkowski is kind of like it's very inspiring. Which is your nonprofit where you raise money for organ donation through a basketball tournament. How many years has that been running now?
This will be the 10th year, and a lot of people don't know this. I was never a jock. So I started playing basketball so I could stay sober on football Sundays. I would book a game at 5 o'clock so I'd be able to, if I got messed up, I wouldn't play well. And that would be the one thing that would hurt, that would get me through it. And then I was turning 30 and my friends threw me a basketball tournament, and every year a little bit more, every year a little bit more. And now it's a fully fledged 501c. We got corporate sponsors. And when Kenny DeForest passed, like we pivoted all those resources behind organ donation because that dude, great hooper, but saved 5 lives. And so we carry on in his name.
Amen, dude. I appreciate the hell out of that. I love Kenny. That was a goddamn disaster, but he saved so many people. It was very inspiring. I became an organ donor myself after that. I'm blown away by that. Thank you for doing that. I recently went down a fucking rabbit hole. I was thinking about Kenny and I was getting all sad. And I don't even know if this is like matters to the show or not, but I figured I got to tell you while I got you here. I went on his SoundCloud and he had a SoundCloud page. And I was like, as I wanted to hear some of his bits, dude had a 45-minute bit that he put up there all about Kevin Barnett, our other friend who passed away. And it wrecked me. It was beautiful. It was well put together. And he was just like, the love that man had for all of us was unmatched. And just to hear one person that you miss greatly talk about another person that you miss greatly, I totally suggest to anyone who's a fan of Kevin or Kenny to go listen to that. It's still on a SoundCloud. It's up there. But yeah, if you're looking for a good cry and you don't have time to read Joel's book, but yeah, man, I think that's beautiful that you do that in his honor. And Kenny deserves everything because he was, every one of that, our whole crew, the people we came up with in New York, everyone's funnier than the next. And, wherever they are, it seems like everyone just keeps popping off and getting successful. And like, it's either like it could happen now, it could have happened 10 years ago. But, just watching all of us, like we had a good crew and we've all seems like we've written the wrongs of our past. And I see that clear as hell when I look at you, Joel. And it's a beautiful thing, man.
Oh, hush, that's too kind. But it's nice to have real community like we had, to be a part of, I'll just say like kind of creaky, like in the early 2010s. It was a special place to be. And
like clubhouse.
The joke was that it was comedy CBGBs, but it was. Yeah. People in all walks went on to do interesting things. And, that when I'm on my deathbed, like I'll be thinking about, I wish I could just go hang at the creek one last time, because it's so much more precious than you realize in the moment. Mm-hmm. Seeing Murder Fist upstairs, smelling sewage downstairs, going through a tunnel to see Marcus and Henry recording their pod. Yeah, man. Everywhere you turned, someone was doing a genius bit, and then it smelled like absolute shit the entire time.
I don't know how it was a successful restaurant.
Here's the thing, Ed. It wasn't.
Oh man! So what's going on now? Like now you're out here. You're promoting your book. The world loves you. Detroit singing your praises. Are you going to move back to Detroit now and just become the king of that place?
No, I'm gonna go everywhere. I'm gonna go where, like, I love working with addicts because I've like run my smart meeting. I like doing that more than I like doing anything else. And like, I
There's
didn't
plenty of
write a
addicts in
book.
Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's addicts
Kind of where
everywhere.
they're concentrated. Didn't Detroit put up a RoboCop statue? Like, that's a purely drug addict thing.
They
right?
finally freed
Yeah.
it. Oh, thank God.
I mean, call me when Detroit puts up a RoboCop, and then I'll move back.
I thought they put it up because I know it was made. They raised $10,000 to build the statue, the RoboCop statue.
Yeah, they had the organ donation thing solved in this town. So
The ultimate organ donor, RoboCop.
honestly, yes.
Oh man! So Joel, thank you so much for coming here and joining us on the brighter side and talking about your book and how back in the day, the Detroit Lions really helped you and your father like become buddies, and I think it's a beautiful thing. This is obviously a part of our nostalgia episode, and we were talking a little bit earlier, and I feel like you and I have a very similar feeling of nostalgia, whereas I love it. And at the same time, I realize how evil it can be. Would you mind giving us a brighter side of nostalgia, or maybe first telling us something you don't like about it?
Yeah, why
and
do you
then
think it's
brighter
evil?
side?
I never thought nostalgia could be evil.
I think it's to look backwards, you need to pony up money. And that's gross to me. The Disney adultification of not just Disney, but anything you're looking at. As a sports guy,
Yeah.
I see that the way people treat Jordan and Tom Brady and like the Fanatics Fest that they had this week, spend thousands of dollars so you can feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
You can just feel like a kid again.
Yes. Yeah. No. Enjoy some. I think that nostalgia kind of like keeps you from learning and experiencing new things. I like some of my friends from high school. I talk to them and they're like, I love them with all my heart, but they're still sending me the same songs we listened to in high school. And I'm like, hey man, I'm past this. I'm a jazz man now. I'm listening to African music.
Yeah.
And it's like you got, I feel like nostalgia can hold you back from becoming like a better person in the future. But all right. So you say something nice about nostalgia, then I will too, Joel, because this is the brighter side. We're required to.
I mean, nostalgia at its very core, like it's our purest thing. And like this comes up in addiction talks too, right? Like whatever perks up your antenna and nothing else exists in the world but this thing, that's what actually matters to you. Mm-hmm. And whatever you care about, it could be a niche toy from your childhood or that cartoon that only aired for one season.
Yeah.
If you love it and nothing else exists in the world when you're thinking about it, that's so fucking valuable.
Yeah.
So hold on to that for dear life. And you don't need to buy a line pass or anything like that to have that be a part of you and have that serve you.
Yeah.
Also, journaling's free.
Yeah.
And that's a good nostalgia that's free.
And then you might get a fucking book out of it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Or just get 14 blood transfusions.
Yeah. What is the brighter side of nostalgia? I don't know, Ed. Being the favorite son of my home fucking town? Yeah, sounds pretty good to me.
Oh man. And for me, I'll say nostalgia, especially when it comes to like the way football brought nostalgia back for Joel. And when I went back and I was very nostalgic about the Miami Dolphins my whole life. And it wasn't until recently that I learned about many of the horrors of football. And I was able to like kind of like remove that. I don't watch football anymore, but I still love teal and orange. I don't watch, I'm not a big fan of the Miami Dolphins, but I'll still like to joke about Dan Marino. I still like to
Right.
learn about what Ricky Williams is doing in his life, because I wouldn't be thinking about how he's a pro marijuana advocate if I wasn't already a fan and stuff like that. And
Maybe you like the sports aspect. Like maybe you should get into tennis. That's less brain injuries.
You're right. I've been trying basketball.
Basketball.
Maybe I'll just become a big Walkowski fan. Who knows?
Hey, come on out September 12th. I got room for you, Eddie.
Yeah, September 10th is the new that's gonna be the new tournament in New York.
We always do it the Saturday after Labor Day, and we get like 150 people. They all get clothed and fed, and it is like the most fun day of the year.
Where is it?
I
How
mean,
do people go watch?
We
let
do it at
fans?
Everyone comes. Yeah. Anyone's allowed to come. And then like we have a banquet afterwards. There's music. Like it gets a little bigger every year. And like, you know, we also have another death this year, which sucks. Like everybody
Yes.
loved John Rosenberger, and John Rosenberger was my right hand running that tournament. So
Yeah, I was just
it
hanging out
kinda
with Casey, and he was very beat up about it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it sucks that like the kindest people tend to go the earliest.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, man. No, our business, we drop like flies. So everyone stay healthy. Keep living the life that Joel's living. You know, make sure everyone's taking their vitamins, exercising and becoming a better person, and give it back to charity.
Right.
And then taking your thoughts, putting them down, and writing a beautiful thing like Honolulu Blues, How Loving a Losing Football Team Created a Winning Man by Joel Walkowski. Go pick it up. It's at bookstores. You can order it online. Simon & Schuster. Go fucking follow Joel all over the Instagrams. I love everything you do, buddy. You're always going to be one of my favorites, man. Thank you,
You
so
guys
much.
are two geniuses. Thank you for the platform and the opportunity. It's just such an honor to chop it up with you like it's at the Creek backyard in 2014.
Hell
miss
yeah,
it.
man. I'll be in New York in October. If you're around, I'll hit you up. I'd love to see you.
I'll be there. You, me, Welty. What's on?
Oh, don't threaten me with a bad time. All right.
Okay, and we're back. And now we're going to talk about the dangers of nostalgia. So when I was talking to the girls about this idea, Ashley texted me and she was like, you know, we romanticize things we've experienced because they don't inherently have the threat of the unknown, which the future embodies. And this like blew my mind. I was like, you're right. Nostalgia's bad. I don't know. Like,
But it's also kind of good.
see, the thing is, like, when we like talk about nostalgia and we have that warm, fuzzy feeling,
Yeah.
we're like, it's good.
It's good. It just
Right.
we just have to be careful that it's not being used against us and we're not being manipulated with it.
Oh, by advertisers.
Yeah.
Or like when I was in a real depressive spell about a year ago and just drinking a lot, my mom almost passed away and I was breaking up with a guy like who's treating me like shit. I was nostalgic for a time when I did stand up and I would just kind of sit with it, and I would get really depressed and then go pop open another beer. And then it took me to realize, like, I think you just need to start doing it, which maybe that's good and bad because then I just started doing it. But for a long time, I was just kind of like lamenting on, oh, I used to be so good doing stand up. Now I haven't done it anymore. I'm just such a piece of shit with it.
You're saying nostalgia can be a compass. It can point us in the direction of where we want to go and use it as a
Right.
tool.
It's a tool, yes.
Yeah,
And a
that's
hammer,
good.
yeah, a hammer
Yeah,
can be a
for
blunt
sure.
object or it can build a house. It's
Right.
your
Right.
Nostalgia
yeah.
can lead you back into your creative passion, or it can be a political slogan like "Make America Great Again" that pries on people who want to go back to a time that never really existed.
Right, which I feel like that's an example of the vicarious nostalgia. It's like nobody who is connecting with Make America Great Again actually experienced
Yeah.
America great back then.
Yeah, and it really wasn't that great.
And it really wasn't that great.
Yeah.
Right.
A million things.
Yeah.
You did mention the 90s, yeah, you could buy a house, but like Princess Diana was one of the first people who like touched someone who is HIV positive.
Right.
And everybody was
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
Diana.
Yeah.
right. And now you can have PrEP.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think like a big example of this was this Russian theorist, Svetlana Boym. She wrote about two different types of nostalgia. She put a book out called The Future of Nostalgia from 2001 is when this came out. Specifically, she was studying the way people described the apartheid in South Africa. So there were some people, mainly white expats, right-wing folks, who looked back and were like,
We liked Rhodesia.
okay, they were looking back at like, oh, there was a lot of order. Oh, things felt like safer. But they were completely like ignoring the
Yeah.
intense violence that other people in that time were experiencing.
Right.
So they're looking back in a restorative manner. She talks about two different types of nostalgia, and I've kind of mentioned them throughout the episode. But it's like you can either have restorative nostalgia where you look back and you're like, we need to go back to that exact time when those were the rules. Or there's reflective. So like other people look back on the apartheid and they're like, look, no, that was horrible. Like we have things from our culture that like we remember and kind of are nostalgic for, but we know that those changes needed to happen. And so they're more reflective rather than like, we want that again. I think we see that now. Like I was talking to you about this, where it's like when people are like, God, we got to talk about pronouns now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we got to have all gender bathrooms. And it's like, yeah, bro, that's what we're doing now.
It's actually like nobody has a gun to your head saying
Right.
like, call me she, her. It's okay.
Right.
Like,
Totally.
it's fine.
Yeah.
I think we also tend to like sort of not pay attention to things outside of our sphere of influence, kind of just like our world, like, you know, specifically like talking about like, again, with the 90s, it's like in America, we look at it and go, oh, there were some people were at the mall, you know, like talking myself, but specifically, but like also hundreds of millions of people across the globe did not have running water or electricity that now do. Like global poverty rates have declined dramatically since that time. But I don't think about that really when I think about those. I think about like what I quote unquote lost instead of like what the world gained.
When Eddie and I were talking about nostalgia, he was like, you know, it's like when people complain about all the options at Starbucks. Like, God, I just want to go back to where you just like went up and bought a coffee. He's like, that's just because there's more options now doesn't mean that your option doesn't still exist.
Yeah, that's
you
so
can still
true.
get a
You
coffee.
know, like the thing you're still nostalgic for still exists.
I don't know. I
you
went
know,
to Starbucks
like,
and I ordered a coffee and they're like, straight white woman. And they all pointed at me and they laughed and they said, she voted for Trump. And I was just like, I just want a coffee, a hot coffee, black. And like, you said the word black. You can't say that to me. And it was,
oh my God.
And that happens to you every day, right?
every day. I just keep,
You keep going back to that Starbucks. You're like,
I know. I could get a pot of coffee at home, but I gotta trigger the lips. I get up,
Oh my God, I love it.
put on my jazz pants.
I mean, if you're not doing it, who is? You know?
Yeah.
But we kind of touched on the brighter side of nostalgia, which was like, yeah, like being nostalgic about doing stand-up has got you doing stand-up again. Like that was a lot of the things that some of these researchers mentioned is like when you are able to reflect on a time that like was really important to you, like you then use that as a tool to like better your current self.
Love it. Yeah. Because even this conversation now and you asking us, like, what do you think you were really nostalgic for in that time has made me sort of ruminate on the idea of how can I increase the feeling of possibility in my everyday life now?
Oh, I love
Everything's
that.
possible, Ashley.
Everything's possible.
You want to
Yeah.
learn karate? You can do it.
Yeah. Can I really?
You can.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, please learn karate.
I would love that.
Can you give us a hiya?
We'll save it for when I'm advanced.
Yes. It's also a really good tool. Nostalgia is also a really good tool to preserve cultural heritage. So, like, you know, elders.
I'm German. I wave the Nazi flag.
And not that. Amber. No. Amber. No.
No, we talked about this.
No.
You don't talk
Amber.
about it on
No.
the podcast. No, but like, it's a way that generations are able to connect. Older generations, specifically, okay, let's talk about Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Adults who Star Wars was very important to them can take their kids to see Star Wars, and it's something that they can connect about. Now, that's not necessarily like cultural heritage, but like it's an example of it connecting generations.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. How is that different than just sharing what you like?
Oh, Star Wars, it harkens back to like the 70s. It was France still guillotining people. It was smoking inside.
Star Wars?
Yeah. France still had the guillotine going when Star Wars happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's
That's one of
fact
those
check
weird historical facts. Yeah.
Crazy.
No, it's true. Adam knows it.
Adam knows.
Adam
knows.
Listener at home, Adam shook his head. He does.
No, I swear to God, the guillotine was still around when Star Wars was here. It's one of those kind of like Cleopatra was closer to the iPhone than she was to the building of the pyramids.
Crazy.
If you look at the history.
guillotine was used 180.
1972. Okay, it was used for execution in France until 1972. When was the first Star Wars
1979.
movie?
Took place
Wait,
on, it's
1792.
its final use was on September 10th, 1977.
Wow.
Okay, well, when
And
when did the
retired
first-
forever in
when did
September
the first
81.
Star Wars come out?
So 77.
Well, the first Star Wars was definitely like 77, 79.
Wow.
Yeah.
77.
77.
Amber.
Oh my God.
Ding,
I'm
ding, ding,
all
ding,
right.
ding.
She's a winner, baby.
Look at
She's
that.
a winner.
Look at that.
Oh
Look
my
at
gosh.
Look what I did.
Look what you did.
I'm so happy when I'm right because I say
Love
shit
it.
and people are like, Amber, you're wrong.
Not today.
Not today.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for the brighter side of nostalgia. Remember to pop over to YouTube for that bonus 10 minutes at the Brighter Side LPN on both YouTube and Instagram. But this bonus 10 minutes is going to be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. I'm Julie Rosing. You can find me on Instagram at Canarda Bayback. I was joined today by
Amber Nelson. You can find me on Instagram, Amber Smelson. I'm also on Patreon, $1. You can listen to my stand-up.
I'm Ashley Brooke Roberts. Come over to YouTube at Ashley Brooke Roberts and see how I'm changing my life. Thanks.
Yes. And remember, Eddie is at Eddie Tunes on Instagram and Patreon. And his touring dates are at eddietunes.com. Love ya, and remember to be good to yourself. See ya at YouTube, everybody.
Bye.
Brighter side.